All right, YouTube. Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion day one in trial pretty much is completed. I'm gonna let this guy run it down because I don't know what the hell's going on. So I'm gonna let this guy talk about it because apparently he was there. He might be one of the people. I don't know who this guy is, but he sounds like he's there. I'm gonna let him say it. I'm gonna let him talk about his talk, and we gonna see what's going on. All right. So this is the day one trial of Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion.
Trial, we had opening statements. Opening statements are still actually going. We had to pause midway through for lunch. Better than TV. If you watch the prosecution's opening statement, you would say guilty. If you then watch the defense's opening statement, you would say, what the hell is the prosecution thinking, charging him? Basically, the prosecution started with this story. They said that, hey, they're all at the party, and Tory is leaving the party with Meg. They're in the car. An argument breaks out, during which Meg says and insults his skills as a rap artist. This leads to a situation where she gets out of the car and he shoots at her feet and yells, "Dance, bitch." And then she ends up at a hospital, and a doctor takes out 3 fragments of bullet wounds from her foot. Now, if you just hear, and the prosecution says that Kelsey, the other woman in the car, is going to testify that Tory shot Meg. And Kelsey has a text message where she texts somebody that, hey, Tory shot Meg. And then the rest of the prosecution's case is based on all these calls and texts where Tory's like, oh, I'm so sorry, oh, I'm so drunk. He never says that I shot him. He's like, oh, I'm just so sorry, I'm so drunk. So question what he's apologizing for. So that's the prosecution's case. Seems pretty easy. Then the defense comes up, and man, it gets spicy. First, the defense goes, they're not telling you about half of what's going on. The most important thing they're not telling you about an eyewitness who saw 2 women fighting, Kelsey and Meg. And so let's talk about why them 2 are fighting. Let's talk about how she was in the front seat. The gun was caught in the front seat. Let's talk about how she might have gunpowder. She does have gunpowder. Let's talk about how this has nothing to do with the fight between Tory and Meg and everything to do with the fight between Meg and Kelsey. And then the defense starts dropping the bombs. He basically says this, that they're in the car. Yeah, they left. But do you know why they left? They left because Kylie and Tory were in the pool together. And Kelsey and Meg both felt some type of way about that, to the point that Meg felt really some type of way about that. And she was really trying to go, to the point that eventually, because of how Meg is acting, this is according to the defense, Kylie Jenner goes to Meg Thee Stallion and says, it's time for you to leave. They all leave. The defense's point is what happens in the car is this. Tory questions Kelsey, hey Kelsey, why are you backing up Meg for me trying to, get it on with Kylie Jenner? Meg has been snaking men from you your whole life. I hooked up with you, Kelsey, and then Meg went behind your back and hooked up with me. And Kelsey, this is not the first time. You have been hooking up with Ben Simmons. Meg went behind your back and hooked up with Ben Simmons. You have been hooking up with the baby. Meg went behind your back and hooked up with the baby. And so the defense starts dropping all these grenades. The crowd is captivated. The jury is like, oh, what's going on? And there's every reason to believe that there could have been a fight here, not between Tory and Meg, but between Meg and Kelsey. And the shooting could have not been Tory. It could have been done by any one of the other people in that car. What does all of this mean? Well, I'll tell you a couple things. First, Corey Gamble, Kris Jenner's husband, is going to testify, so this will continue to be must-see TV. 2, the judge is terrific. I expect a very fair trial. The lawyers on the defense side are terrific. I don't know what the government lawyer was doing, giving an opening presentation that made it seem like the most open and shut case ever, when in fact there are huge questions, including an eyewitness who saw 2 women fighting, suggesting that you have to explain that theory to the jury, and you didn't. So I don't love the prosecution's opening in that regard. Stay tuned. We'll have the full coverage here. It's up and it's stuck in the Tory Lanez trial.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so that's part 1. This is part 2.
And Tory Lanez. So we are taking our afternoon break. There's going to be more testimony at the end of the day. But right now, let me catch you up on what's happened since lunch. The defense continued and concluded their opening statement. They confirmed that their theory of the case is going to be that Kelsey was the shooter. Tory was just trying to break up the fight. Then the prosecution went up. They put on a police officer as their first witness. This is the police officer who arrived at the scene of the shooting. He testified about how he saw gun casings, blood spatter. This was a big mistake in my opinion, because the defense attorney ended up tearing this police officer's testimony to shreds. He basically got the officer to admit that they did not use the proper evidence markers to mark and identify the location of every piece of evidence. So the police cannot tell you where blood was found exactly in relation to the gun casings, where, based on the trail of blood, the victim would have walked around. They can't tell and paint the whole story of what happened when the person got out of the car. Why, if you can't paint that story, why, if you didn't use the evidence markers, why, if you purportedly have a very simple case, did you waste your time making your first witness a police officer whose testimony is going to get torn to shreds by the defense attorney? Big mistake, in my opinion, if you ask me. From here going forward, the defense will always be able to point out that the government's investigation is completely incapable of telling the jury about the movement of the victim outside of the car. So if you're trying to inject reasonable doubt, alternative theories, you've now done a great job setting it up that the government's story has holes in it. All right.
Sheesh. Yo, I'm sorry, man. Megan Thee Stallion always seemed a little shady to me. I'm from Houston, she from Houston, so I root for her. But this story never made sense to me. And it's crazy, Megan, if you really know what's going on, why would you go through this? Because it sounds like it's a whole bunch of cap in your rap. I'm sorry, Megan, it sounds like it's a whole bunch of cap in your rap. So why would you go through this if you know that you did something? Like, that's crazy. I don't know, man. Y'all leave a comment down below. So Megan, you allegedly sleeping with Ben Simmons. So allegedly, this is all alleged. Megan Thee Stallion was sleeping with all her best friends, dudes that she was talking to. Or was it, I don't know. This is crazy. So this is just day one. Stay tuned. This guy seems to be on top of it. I saw this on DJ Academic's page. He just gave a crazy breakdown on day one. And we're gonna see what happens on day two. So y'all leave a comment down below. Y'all let me know what's going on. Dang, that's crazy. Hold on. So she was allegedly sleeping with Ben Simmons, the baby, Tory Lanez. Dang, boy, she just getting passed around like hot potatoes, huh? Y'all leave a comment down below, man. Sheesh.